Hey YouTube, you have Leonard here. Bringing guys and gals, Toradora. We're on episode number 9. So once again, yesterday's episode I should say, again, one of my favorites of the series, and it constitutes a turning point. And we're going to see even more of that taking place specifically in this episode. Again, we get this whole thing where Taiga is now becoming more conscious of her feelings towards Ryuuji. As we kind of discussed, she's never really shown it outwardly before, but it becomes very apparent to the whole cast of characters, and now specifically Ryuuji, who's our main character, that this is how Taiga to some degree feels, but Ryuuji still doesn't fully get it. As we start going through this, just remember some of the dynamics we have. Ryuuji doesn't fully know how he feels about Taiga per se, and he's supposed to like Minori, Kushida. That's potentially could be a problem, as you can only imagine. And the same thing works with Taiga. Taiga is starting to realize her feelings for Ryuuji and how she views him, at least that he's special to her, but she still doesn't really know like what this all means. It's all new to her, and again, she doesn't communicate properly. But in her heart, she's like, but I'm supposed to like Kitamura. There's a conflict there. And on top of that, her and Ryuuji have quite frankly developed a very strong, I'll call it codependency. They've developed a codependency on one another where not having the other person in their life causes an issue, and typically that would suggest that there might be something romantic there. And even if it's not, like at least recognize like what the relationship is, but both of them aren't able to do so. So it causes issues. It will continue to cause issues as we go through the story. For those who are, of course, watching this for the first time, just keep all those dynamics in mind, plus Ami, who's really sits in the middle, and you'll see in this arc that should become more and more pivotal, so watch for that. Without further ado, let's get into this episode. I'm excited, and we're going to start this. We're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, I forgot about this. You're pathetic. Oh no. Ryuji's doghouse. That is wild. They're yours. You make a. I can't. If this doesn't suggest what I've already talked about, in terms of him steadily becoming more aware of the feelings, I don't know what to tell you. I can't. I can't. What's kind of interesting about the dialogue, by the way, is hold on, lower my volume. What's kind of interesting about that whole entire dialogue on top of that is Tiger's over here just like, you were a dog. My husband was a dog. She didn't directly call him her husband, but we can, at least I'll make the assumption that they were having basically the same dream. And she's just like, wait a second, worst dream ever. But again, this is all just to further the fact that Ryuji and Tiger are not all the way there in terms of understanding their feelings for one another, but they're steadily, slowly but surely becoming subconsciously at least aware of the possibility being there. But again, because of the way that they've already convinced themselves of the people that they like, the relations they built up, and even quite frankly, the structure of their relationship, where they do all these things for each other and they're in each other's life, but Tiger mistreats him. He just does it because he says like, "Oh, I just want to help," etc., and do things and that. It causes a lot of confusion. So I digress. I feel like I'm a broken record now, but I think you guys get it. Okay. I mean, it's not that bad of a dream. Oh, it's a competition. Yatsuko's done. Oh my, she's out of it. She's completely out of it. She's so tight. Yo, dogs just hate her clearly. I fully agree. It's like what Ami tried to do to her, except Ami succeeded. Here you go. This is so dumb. I love it. Are they from the zoo? Don't look. Ami's about to run. I love it. They made a Buddha. Run. I saw the Buddha and I was just like, is this Netero I'm seeing? Netero in his prime. She's so rude. I mean, deserved. I love the nickname Bakachi. What? Interesting. Yeah, Kushida being afraid is like weird. It does exactly fit her personality. I promise you, this is literally the worst idea I've ever heard of. Awful idea. Awful idea. I mean, they are going pretty high up in the mountains, I guess. Long walk. Could you imagine having a friend, by the way, who has like an entire summer house? Like, that's actually, I mean, at least for me, that's actually wild. Knowing someone who has a summer house and being able to like go to the summer house for a couple of days. I love Ryuji. He's just like the battle's on. the cleaning battle is on. It's so his best moments. Some of his best moments are where he goes into epic cleaning mode. I love it. Oh, look at him. He's so happy. He's so happy. He's like, wait. Exactly. High key though, he enjoys it. Killing her. Keep this moment in mind. Those who have not seen this episode before, keep that moment in mind about the student council. I feel like none of the scenes in this series, which I really like, are just about any kind. Like they all have some type of repercussions later on. The things that are said. You just didn't want to be alone with him. Oh man. Ami. Do what? She's such trash. Comes wagging his tail between his legs. Oh, she 100% did. There we go. Oh. Ponte. Ponte. Iconic scene. Love it. Love it. That is horrible. They're so wrong for this. In what world is this supposed to scare somebody? By the way, the spicier curry, the better it is. I'm all about curry, and I need to be super, super spicy. Oh, did I miss this? By the way, Ami's already aware of the Minori stuff. Bro, forgot about this. This fool. No. Oh, forget it. Nope, forget it. It was just seaweed. Nope, you saw nothing. Dang. Taiga's done. Kushieda got the biggest brunt of that. Literally. Bruh. Spicy curry time. This is horrible. If you can't handle spicy food and someone says not that spicy, you never trust it. You never trust it. Delayed reaction. The knockout punch. Taiga's actually dying. They're all about to die. Taiga actually is about to die. Taiga, you had like one bite of it. Mm-mm. Exactly. Mm-mm. Nope. I'm over here trying to make moves on you. You don't realize it. And not only is she losing to Taiga, she's also losing to Minori in terms of your affection. So of course she's just kind of like whatever. Kitamura, what are you doing? This is such a realistic friendship, by the way. I'll get to this later, but most important scene of the episode. Have you ever seen a ghost? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, so much to talk about in the scene. After the episode, we're going right back to the scene. Too much to talk about with it. Of course. Oh, we have another great scene. Don't just casually put your feet on this man's head. Mm-hmm. Taiga? Slimy. These two. They're like, we've been haunted. These two are honestly a piece of work. I can. They deserve each other. They deserve each other. Burning love. Mine. Anyway, everyone. That was the episode. That was the episode. I gotta say, this is actually up there in terms of like, I gotta go to the ranker. We gotta go to the ranker very soon. But anyway, everyone, as I said before, we're getting to turning points in this series. Specifically, if you look at Taiga and Ryuji's relationship, but then also the relationships of everyone around them. The reason I said that this trip feels very realistic, as someone who I've gone on friend trips before, and if you've ever been on a friend trip, it can either be really good or really bad. There are a lot of ups and downs that come with these type of trips, and there's a lot of self discovery sometimes that happens as well, especially when you think about their age as high schoolers. And we're seeing steadily the fact that in that final scene, but well before the ghost stuff, with Yuji and Taiga, Taiga says some pretty direct things there. How with Kitamura specifically, she feels weird. Like she's always feeling nervous and apprehensive, and she can't necessarily relax. And as a result, she's not really enjoying herself. But she also makes a direct comparison or contrast to Ryuji, her relationship with him. Let's get to the ending quickly. Let's get the filter. Let's get this preview. Okay, that's the episode. So as I was saying before, so she's making again everyone like a direct comparison between her dealings with Kitamura, like how they interact, and her interactions with Ryuji. And I think it's very interesting. While she feels this way with Kitamura, she directly says that, with Ryuji, I feel very calm. I feel at peace. Everything feels natural, and I actually enjoy myself. She's not even thinking so much about like what's going on. And I would just say to everyone here, regardless like your age, watching this or whatever, as you go through life, firm believer that if you're with someone who you truly do like, that's how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be like you're always like clammy and nervous and afraid, and like you're always overthinking all this different stuff. Don't get me wrong, those things will happen, of course. But when you find that person where you can just feel very like calm, relaxed with them, every day feels like a normal day, but it doesn't mean you take it for granted. Every day is still enjoyable, and it's enjoyable because you're spending time with that person. It just feels natural. That's when you know you found something. Taiga and Ryuuji have that, and other people notice it as well. They notice they have this natural chemistry. Part of the reason why Ami's so frustrated is that in a situation, Ryuuji will always defer to Taiga. Even in the case of the curry, it's just like, oh, I don't want my extra spicy. It's like, well, why can't she just conform to everybody else? Like, you're always making these special exceptions for Taiga. Taiga doesn't want extra spicy, so you're going to make it specifically mild for her. She goes to you when she wants to initially get the medicine. If not for Kitamura, then afterwards, like, you'd be trying to help her with that as well. And he kind of does. When she goes off of Kitamura, he's just worrying, like, oh, I hope she feels better. But Ami's just like, you keep putting the focus on Taiga. And she's very aware of the reason why this is the case. But Ryuuji isn't being honest with himself. He doesn't even recognize it yet. Or he doesn't fully recognize it. Onto the Minori stuff and the relationships around everyone. So you see how Taiga doesn't feel necessarily comfortable with Kitamura. She's getting opportunities, but she denies opportunities usually to stay with Ryuuji. She doesn't feel as comfortable with Kitamura. And that's just a fact that we're seeing this episode playing out. Nonetheless, if we go to Kushida very quickly, we go back to that conversation, and I want to go to the very beginning. Give me 1 second. If we go back to the very beginning, we're going to start with the line, have you ever seen, do you still think the sea monster is around? So she's going to basically say here, do you believe in ghosts, or have you ever seen a ghost? The best way I can describe this scene to everyone, and some of you, again, if you've rewatched this, you may be already familiar with this. But for those who haven't, if you've watched this scene, it sounds like they're talking about ghosts, UFOs, this and that. And we know that Kushida is a very odd character. But clearly, she's not just talking about ghosts and UFOs. The ghost thing is a metaphor, basically, for love, for relationships. Specifically, also, the seaweed monster is supposed to represent, at least this is my understanding, I believe the seaweed monster represents, to some degree, the love that Ryuuji has towards Minori. Minori is not a dumb character, and Minori is very aware, to some degree, of what's taking place. I won't spoil things for episode number 10. What I will say is the fact that Minori is a very aware character, and the same way that she sees the Taiga and Ryuuji stuff, it's fair to say that she might also realize to some degree that maybe Ryuuji has some level of feelings towards her. We don't know that. That has not been confirmed to this point. But we know that Ryuuji obviously likes her. Minori being very perceptive and looking at sometimes how he tries to also create these situations where the two of them are together and go above and beyond where he can. She can suggest that. So that's why I say the seaweed monster potentially could be referring to Ryuuji. Now, let's just go through the dialogue here. She says here, have you ever seen a ghost? Again, if you think about from the context I've described, have you ever been in love? Have you ever seen love? Have you ever felt love? And in this case, he's like, no, I haven't. I believe ghosts, or I believe love exists, even though I've never actually seen one, or I've never actually been in love. But I don't believe any of the people who claim they have. We're still talking about the subject of love. And well, this applies to something else too. So the reason you can make the comparison now is that she talks about the ghost, and then she turns into going about specifically love. She says here, I believe I'll fall in love one day, get married, and live happily ever after. With that said, even though I've never actually felt that way about anyone, goes back to the ghost conversation. So we're all in the love subject. And we know that Minori specifically, she does in a sense live in a different world. She is one of those where it's just like she's very out there, she's very different, and she feels like there's almost something maybe like weird with her that she's not always so focused on this idea of love. She goes on to say, and since I've never seen it or felt it before, maybe those ghosts, maybe love, relationships, they don't exist either, is what she's saying. She continues, I nearly given up on seeing one, or I've given up on perhaps even being in a relationship. So the answer to your question is no. And the question was again, do you believe in ghosts? So I think that was something, or in this case, do you believe in love? Ryuji's listening to this conversation, by the way, and he clearly doesn't realize that this is what's happening in terms of the conversation. But this is what we can suggest here based on the words that Minori is saying. She's talking about ghosts, but she clearly means something else. And there's one other thing that she says. Hold on, let's go here. Let's go to Takasu's response. If we go over here, he says, I think I'm interested in seeing them. Again, think about relationships. That's why I check out mystery spots and watch scary movies. So he's actively someone who searches for love. The way I see it, and it says here, even people who can easily see ghosts or be in relationships are amazed by their first experience. Notice how when they highlight that whole idea, who do we focus on? We focus on Kitamura and specifically Taiga, her first experience with love. And we see her just kind of like cuddled up thinking there. Goes on to say, then there's people who've seen them but also deny their existence. This literally shows the two of them. Kitamura, his first love. We think about Taiga, the fact that she's seen love, denies this existence. At least, again, this is my take on it. And specifically, we look at the idea of denying his existence. I think Taiga definitely fits the bill of maybe like the first love more so. We look at, again, Ami here. I like how they focus on her. They talk about denying the existence of love specifically, and finally those who work really hard to see them at all. This pretty much highlights to some degree what everyone is going through in the group. First love, to seeing that you're having love but denying its existence. Those working really hard to see love at all. Ami, who's working really hard to try and be in a relationship with Ryuji, who's trying to find that love, who's trying to find herself. She's clearly working at it. She wants to see it. Will it bear fruit? We don't know. So again, this whole conversation is just so interesting. Ryuji goes on, but all in all, I see no reason to give up. And then afterwards, we know the rest. It talks about the UFO. They go from there. But again, this is very, very deep dialogue. I remember when I first watched this, I was just kind of like, whatever. You go back, though, and you think about the events of the series and what we've seen up until this point, and it really just goes home to like underscore the idea of like love, relationships in this group setting. And everything right now is really a jumbled mess. You have a bunch of high schoolers who are still learning about themselves, still trying to figure out life. And you throw in this whole idea about love and everything, and it gets confusing. And you have all these relationship stuff as well they're going on with Taiga, how she feels about Kitamura, but about Ryuji, I love Midori, but how do I feel about Taiga? Midori, I don't believe in love, but there's someone here who clearly is showing potentially some interest in me. How do I respond to that? A lot of things. And of course, Ami, I believe in love, I want to find love, but I keep being ignored. Ami is interesting because she clearly has feelings towards Ryuji, or at least is developing those feelings, but Ryuji ignores it for Taiga. Then on top of that, a blow to her pride. She already knows the Taiga stuff, but she also clearly sees that this guy likes Ryuji. Imagine how frustrating this is for Ami, by the way, because he likes Minori, he likes Taiga. She gets no attention whatsoever. And on top of that, she feels he's probably playing himself for a fool because this is not going to work out here. This is a conflict waiting to happen. So that everyone, I feel like I've gone into enough detail. Sorry if I bored you guys with the analysis, but I think this is like really good stuff that we're getting here in this episode. I would say this episode number 9, top 3. I'd say my favorite episodes are obviously episode 8 that we just had. I'm going to put this episode, and then I'm going to put episode number 4. No, episode number 2. Sorry, episode number 2. I need to go back to my tracker. Okay. We'll revisit the rankings, but right now, top 2 episodes are last week's episode, or yesterday's episode 8, and then this episode, because there's just a lot of really, really good content here. So with that, I'm going to end it. Like the video if you like the video. Comment in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts. And with that, I'm Leonard, and I am out. Peace.